Search every public Facebook post, Google throws cash at shareholders, and how to appropriately use the money face emoji. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 451 for Thursday, October 22nd, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/ecotank to find out more. Welcome. I am Megan Morrone. After the break, I'll talk to Serenity Caldwell, managing editor of iMore and frequent co-host of MacBreak Weekly, about Emoji and so much more. But first, let's get to the tech news. Alphabet announced third quarter 2015 results under its former name. Perhaps you remember it. Google. Alphabet posted better than expected revenue and are giving most of the credit to YouTube. Investors cheered as the Alphabet board of directors authorized a $5.1 billion shareholder buyback starting this year. This is the first time that Google has returned cash to shareholders. Thanks to Mark Bergen over at Recode for pointing out the geeky math joke hidden in the earnings report. The exact share repurpose number was $5,099,19,513.59. Bergen writes that there are 26 letters in the alphabet. Alphabet's gross revenue was $18.7 billion this quarter, and if you square the number $5,099,19,513.59, the result is expressed on calculators as 2.6 times 10 to the power of 19. See, math is fun, and everyone who owns Google shares is now rich. Facebook, in a blatant attempt to compete with Google and Twitter, now allows you to search all public posts across the entire social network. There are currently more than 2 trillion posts in Facebook's index, and the company hopes that this will allow more of us to figure out what others are talking about in real time without looking up from our phones and physically talking to anyone ever again, because who wants to do that? According to a post on the company's blog, Search FYI, as they're calling the new service, will offer timely, personalized search suggestions as soon as you tap the search box, and they will highlight things that are happening at that moment so you can follow those stories that Facebook thinks you might want to follow. You'll see posts from your friends as well as posts from people who made the choice to make their posts public, as well as those who've forgotten or never knew how to make their posts private. The update is rolling out today on iOS, Android, and the desktop in the U.S. According to Facebook's Ari Grant, the latest update also makes some improvements to a problem we told you about last week that was mysteriously draining your iOS battery even when you weren't using the Facebook app. One issue they're working on is a CPU spin, which Facebook says is akin to the child in the back of the car asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Some bloggers suspected that the battery drain was also due to Facebook accessing your location, even if you had location access settings turned off. Facebook says this is not the case. Microsoft also released earnings today, which were up from last year despite a decline in revenue. The company highlighted that Windows 10 is now running on 110 million devices, and annualized cloud revenue exceeds $8.2 billion. The company's shares were up 7.3% in after-hours trading today. Amazon also posted good numbers today. The company beat analyst expectations with $25.4 billion in sales and posted, surprise, a profit, owing to its successful cloud computing division. Coming up, do you need to update to iOS 9.1 and how a robot demands your attention? But first, this episode is brought to you by Epson. Epson's revolutionary EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduce a new age in printing. The new EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer doesn't use ink cartridges. Instead, it features an innovative refillable ink tank. It comes with enough ink to print up to 8,500 pages. That's equivalent to about 50 ink cartridge sets. You're loaded and ready to print for up to 2 years. Powered by Epson's leading-edge precision core technology, it delivers high-speed, vivid colors, and laser-quality black text. Plus auto two-sided printing, a 30-page auto document feeder, and easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. All EcoTank printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value with ultra-low-cost replacement ink bottles. Now you have the freedom to print without running out of ink. Visit epson.com/ecotank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the new Epson EcoTank printers. That's epson.com/ecotank. And we thank Epson for their support of Tech News Tonight. iOS 9.1 is now available as a free update for iPhone users. You'll get new emoji fixes to live photos, a few new planet wallpapers. Sounds all pretty cosmetic, but is it? Joining us to talk about the update is Serenity Caldwell, managing editor at iMore. Welcome, Serenity.
Thanks for having me, Megan.
Well, thanks for coming on. Now, if I don't care about the new jazz hands face emoji, I think that's what we're calling it, the one that goes like this. If I don't want it, do I still need to update?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big sort of, as you said, superficial part of the update is that, oh, yay, we have new emojis. I can talk about all of the tacos I'm eating, or give the middle finger to somebody if I really want to. But the really important part of the 9.1 update is, of course, all of the security updates that go into it that are fixing little vulnerabilities that you may never encounter when you're using 9.0, but Apple knows that they exist, and now Apple wants to fix them and make sure that no one ever finds a way to exploit them. I know it disables support for the jailbreak as well, so there's that. And but yeah, it's a combination of, yes, I have this nice little superficial stuff, but also security.
So, is there any reason not to update?
I wouldn't say so. In the past, of course, minor updates have broken little things. Now that we're 24 hours in, I haven't really seen anything on Twitter or any of the other social media networks basically saying, oh, no, this has broken this for me or broken that for me. I've heard one or two reports of AirPlay being a little wonky, but that usually has been fixed by a restart. But otherwise, it seems pretty hassle-free update. It's a pretty small upload or download, so you're looking at probably only a couple minutes waiting for your device to download and then re-upload. And of course, you get a little bit fixed with live photos as well.
Tell us about what they fixed and how they fixed that.
Absolutely. So live photos, which people who have a 6S or 6S Plus may be familiar with, is a new feature that Apple rolled out that allows you to take beautiful 12-megapixel still photos that also have 45 seconds of video or 45 frames of video attached to either end of that photo. So you get this cute little 2 to 3 second video attached when you press into the display. Now, previously, when the 6S and 6S Plus first were launched, when you took a live photo, if you happened to put your phone down, not realizing, oh, it's taking 3 seconds of video, you could get this great thing where it starts to be like, live photo, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the ground because your phone has moved. With 9.1, Apple's now taking the accelerometer and the positioning of the accelerometer into account. So when you're taking your live photo, if Apple's operating system detects that your phone is starting to move, it will automatically end the recording a little bit earlier. So your live photos might be a little bit shorter, but on the whole, they are still you're still able to see them rather than see the floor.
So does it fix it at the beginning too? Because that's what I sometimes saw, that it was me raising up my phone and pressing too early. So will it fix it from the beginning too?
Yeah, from my understanding, it should. I haven't played with it a lot in 9.1 to say definitively, but I'm pretty sure.
Are you enjoying the live photos feature? Do you take a lot of live photos?
I am. I left it on by default a lot. I've been traveling a fair amount since I got my 6S. I was in New York City a couple of times, and I play roller derby, so I have active people in which to shoot. And the live photos are especially really, really fun if you have anything that's moving. Animals is great. I have one of our dogs who has an incredibly long tongue. So the live photo has basically his tongue going woo, and then going back into it's pretty silly. So yeah, I find myself using it a fair amount. I wish it was a little bit smoother. It does tend to be a little jerky, especially if you're taking high frame rate photography for something like roller derby. But overall, it's a fun little gimmick. I hope Apple sort of refines it as we go forward.
Yeah, I took this great one when my daughter was taking a picture of my husband and I, and you can get like us posing before, like I'm licking lipstick off my teeth, and like we're just kind of that approach. So my feeling about live photos is that, in 5 years or 10 years, when you look back at them, that's when they'll really have meaning, because we won't, look the same, we won't be the same. Just it's that adding the life to the photo much later, I think, will be when they really become really fascinating and part of our lives. That's what I think.
Absolutely. I think the instant nostalgia factor is something that's talked about a lot with social media and these kinds of photography gimmicks these days. And I really think that, as you said, as we get further and further away from the initial photographs, it becomes a lot more. There's a bit of a gut punch to it. When you look at animals that maybe since have died, or even people you're no longer friends with, people who have passed on, just moments in your life that are not something that you do anymore. It's that extra step, like you said.
Yeah. I also think it'll capture some of the messier parts of life. Like, I have all these pictures of my babies when they're, you only save the ones where they're smiling, but most of the time they're not smiling. So you'll get a lot of that.
Hey, you get the baby smiling, but then you have the preview where it's just like, oh.
Exactly. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about the new emoji. There's all kinds of new faces. I know there's the Vulcan salute emoji. You could do it before, but now it's part of the keyboard, which is awesome. What is the appropriate use case for the money face emoji, do you think?
I wonder if that's supposed to be selling out, or I just got so much money that I am literally spitting it up. I don't know. It's pretty funny. I think that's a modern day use of Mr. Moneybags.
Okay.
From
Monopoly.
Yeah, from Monopoly.
Got it. Okay. I'll be sure to find a use of that. Hopefully it will be, I have so much money, I don't know what to do with it. I'm hoping to use that.
Exactly. I'm rolling in it. I'm spitting it out.
So the middle finger emoji, which you mentioned before, that's one, maybe I am a prude, but I just hate having it. Like, I feel like I'm scrolling through and I'm getting the finger. Like, do you know of any way to remove it?
I don't offhand. I suspect that there might be some way when you can tweak, maybe to prohibit or to auto change, so that anything you type turns out differently. But I'm not sure if there's anything straight out that's available, unfortunately.
That would be a good trick to do, because I have a 12-year-old who has an iPhone. So,
you don't necessarily want them to be like, Mom, what is reverse middle hand with middle finger extended do?
Exactly. Well, by 12, they absolutely know what that means, but hopefully not using it. So there was another story that I saw today about this secret anti-bullying campaign emoji. It's like a speech bubble with an eye in it. If you scroll through, you can see it's by the clock. So do you know anything about that emoji?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, because we've been there's been banter for the last few months when it first showed up in the beta as to what exactly that was going to be. And of course, someone today on Twitter noted, oh, well, if you have text to speech, read it out, and you say, oh, read this emoji, it says, I with in speech bubble for anti-harassment campaign. I don't know what the anti-harassment campaign is. I haven't been able to find out that logo and where it goes. But I think it's really, I think it's a neat it's a neat addition to the emoji spectrum. It's in line with Apple's ability to, they're really reaching out to the community in terms of the causes that they believe in and the causes that they think are important, and very much, not bullying folks online. I think that's something that everybody should stand for, but I appreciate that Apple is taking a stand here. Also, I think it's a funny, anti-bullying aside, it is a funny reference to iMessage, because it is literally an I in the message bubble.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I think just recently some people have come out and some corporations, it's this campaign, this witness campaign, which is just, instead of just sitting by, say something, and maybe you can use the emoji. Because I do think that's a huge problem, not necessarily bullying, but just standing by when, and not saying anything, which is difficult to say something in a lot of situations. So maybe they're thinking you can use an emoji in that situation instead of standing up for the person that's being bullied. Not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that in a way. I'm watching the video, of course, it's on the screen right now, and I think that's really, it's an interesting way of basically saying, hey, this is too much, without necessarily, like, if you're talking to your bully, being like, yo, this is not okay. It might just be that someone is unaware that they're being mean or being, overpressive, especially in younger kids. Some people, of course, are doing it deliberately. But I think quite a few people may say things just that are unintentionally harassing or unintentionally mean, and that might be a good signal to them to just be like, "Hey, this is not cool. I feel uncomfortable." And if that signal is not well received, it can also be a way to alert, as you said, alert authorities or not authorities, but authoritative figures or friends being able to tell parents, etc. Something's going on, and I don't feel comfortable saying specifically what's going on because either it would break trust or it's just not my place. But here is my way to say, hey, this should be looked into.
So in other news, the new Apple TV is available for order on Monday. Now, is that midnight Sunday or midnight Monday? Is this a situation?
Yeah, if anything midnight-wise, it will probably be midnight Sunday. But I'm inclined to think it's actually just going to show up on Monday at some undisclosed point in time. I'm guessing probably 1 p.m. ET, if they don't make specific announcements of pre-orders begin on, at this specific time period. Tim Cook let it slip in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, of course, on stage, where he's like, yes, the Apple TV will be available for sale next Monday. And usually when they do kind of those broad announcements, it's not a specific time, but rather sometime during Monday, we will flip the store switch and you will be able to buy a television, or a television set-top box, rather.
You'll be able to have the future of television in your living room.
Yes, the future of television, which is ours.
In November. When you finally get it. So do you think this is going to be a situation where I should refresh all day long, or do you think the demand won't be that high?
I think it will probably be, if you wanted Apple TV first day, you'll probably be okay. Usually Apple also has some fairly obvious signifiers that a new product is coming. For instance, their website goes down and we've got the store is down page. So I can definitely, I don't think you need to wait eagerly by your phone or your laptop or your desktop. Although having the Apple Store app installed on your phone is really helpful as a quick way to buy things, especially when the apple.com website is being slow, just as a pro tip.
All right. Well, and we don't have any idea when it'll be in the stores yet.
No, I believe so there hasn't been any official announcement, but based on what Tim Cook said during the Wall Street Journal interview, it sounds like Apple TV will most likely be available the week after that initial on sales date online. Because if it's going to begin shipping and arriving in homes the next week, chances are it will also be available for sale in stores.
So let's move on to the Apple Watch ads. They just released a handful of new ones. What do you think?
I love them. You know what? I think it's one of the most unique campaigns they've done in a little while. As we were joking about it earlier, but this sort of, effervescent, empty soundstage that's basically looks like it's being lit by Philips Hue lights. It's a really interesting visual. And on top of that, I think that they do a really good job of encapsulating little moments that make the watch special and then going from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely their job. They need to do that because, it's like just us. We can't convince everyone why they need an Apple Watch, though we do try very hard to convince a lot of people, and no one's paying us to do it. But that Kiss ad is just, the first thing I thought was like, she's dismissing her Uber driver. Like that driver just came there and isn't she going to have to pay for that?
Yeah, it's a long way to the mysterious soundscape. How dare you? Based on the ad, it kind of looks like this is a first kiss scenario, which I can kind of understand being like, I'm going to pay the cancellation fee for it. Sorry, Uber driver, but this might change my life. And hopefully canceling a ride won't change yours.
Yeah, I know. Well, when that was the first thought that I had, that, you gotta get I was like, oh, well, I am definitely an old person now if that's what I'm worried about, not the blush of first love. Well, you can check out the other ads that they are available anywhere. Just search for them. Serenity, thank you so much for joining us. Serenity Caldwell is the managing editor at iMore. She is at Saturn on Twitter, frequent host of MacBreak Weekly and sometimes of Twit. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
And finally tonight, it's become quite trendy to talk about how smartphones and other technology is making it difficult for us to connect, that we're always looking down at our devices and just plain distracted while others are trying to talk to us. Maybe that's why researchers at Toyohashi University in Japan have created a robot designed to harass you until you pay attention to it. The robot is called Talking Ally. It knows when you're not paying attention to it, and it can bend forward or nod or use other gestures and certain tones of voice to pester you until it finally reclaims your attention. And that is it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. We are on Facebook. You can find us at facebook.com/technewstonight. You can like us to get links. And if you want to be part of the conversation, post comments on the stories that we post. You can also email us. David from Colorado Springs, Colorado. He says he's a daily mountain bike listener at 6,500 to 8,000 feet. He wrote in about the request for a shorter length show. He writes, I enjoy the in-depth coverage such as provided by Charles Arthur in this episode. That was a couple days ago. This includes the tech-related topics of science, engineering, mathematics, law, and the psych angle that you sometimes cover, which is probably underrepresented by tech coverage at large. If an interview or an in-depth analysis happens to be in the area of less interest, such as for me, gadget news, there is always the fast-forward button. Thank you so much for writing in. You can also subscribe to the show at twit.tv/TN2. You can write to us at TN2 at twit.tv, and you can watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today. That's every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Morrone. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.